we're going to make some final adjustments to the game. The first point we're going to fix is that once a game is lost, it is possible to keep pressing the buttons and keep guessing the letters. However, the image has disappeared as there is no image called img9.jpg. We have to solve this problem. That is, as soon as the player wins or loses, the controls must be disabled so that they can no longer be pressed. Let's go back to the code behind. And as part of the check if game lost method, let's invoke a new method called disable letters that doesn't exist yet. Let's create the method, and inside the method we will access to the flex layout to assign the property is enabled equal to false for each one of the buttons. For this, we must assign a name to the flex layout to be able to access from the code behind, that is equal to letters container. We save the changes, return to the code behind, and we're going to indicate that for each of the children of the flex layout named letters container, we must try to make a conversion to a button type reference. Let's check if it is a button. And we assign the isEnabled property a value equal to false. This way, when the user loses the game, all the buttons will be disabled. Let's test this functionality. Here we see the application. Let's press some letters at random and see how as soon as the game is lost, all the buttons are already disabled. We have to do the same for when the user wins. So let's go back to the code behind. Let's go to the method called check if game won. In case the user wins, we invoke the disable letters method again. The last step is to code the button that is going to allow us to reset the game. To do this, we're going to create the event handler for the clicked event. Let's rename it to make it a little more descriptive by setting the name reset_clicked. I'm going to copy the name I typed in. I'm going to go back to code behind and rename the event handler. As part of the event handler, we have to reset the game fields. For example, we have to assign a 0 value to the field named mistakes. Guest has to be equal to a new character list. Image has to be equal to img0.jpg. We have to choose a new word through the pickWord method. We have to carry out the execution of calculate word, passing answer and guessed as parameters. The message property must be an empty string, and we must invoke the update status method. Let's test this change. Let's press some buttons, and in case we lose, click on the reset button and see how almost everything works, except for the buttons that have been disabled. We have to re-enable them. We're going to do this by creating a new method called enable letters, which is very similar to the method called disable letters. So I'm going to copy this method, I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to rename it enable letters. Instead of setting a false value for is enabled, I'm going to set a true value. Once we have created the method, let's go back to the event handler and invoke the enable letters method. Let's try running the application one more time. Let's press some buttons. Let's click on the reset button and see how the game restarts. All the buttons have been enabled again. This is how we have reached the end of this section. I hope you liked the creation of this game, which has served to strengthen your knowledge on the subject of data binding.